Oh, there we go.
Recording?
It's recording.
Excellent. So are we going to speak as well, or are we going to just move ahead?
Go for it, and then we'll check the sound.
Okay, so hi everybody. We're here at the Vernon Community Arts Centre, offering what we hope to be some useful demonstrations on the how-tos of making pottery on the wheel. We know you're missing us, we're certainly missing you during this COVID period. What I'm hoping to do today is to demonstrate some of the very basic forms that we use in the clay world, and talk over the process that I use, the techniques that I use. Should fill in the gaps when I go home. So what I'm going to introduce to you is the three basic forms that we use to throw on the wheel: a cylinder, a plate, and a bowl. And once you've mastered those three, you can make anything. So here we go. We're going to work first of all on the most useful form, and that's the cylinder. You can see I've got a pad there of clay that I'm just going to stick this to. And don't be afraid, just imagine there's somebody under there that you really would like to squash under your toe. Nice and hard, slam it down, and then we're going to use lots and lots of water to keep, so that your hands don't stick to the wheel. Here we go. Assume the position. Bend your back, put your forearms onto the ledge of the wheel tray there. You've got a nice strong position, nice triangle there to keep everything, keep your limbs intact. And we're going to centre first of all by squeezing the clay together. Equal pressure with both hands. You're going to bring it up into a cone. This is centering both the inside of the clay and the outside edge. Left hand down on the wheel head, the right hand's coming over the top, and we're going to push that cone into a dome, and that'll be your second shape. Again, cone and dome. You can see my hands are always touching each other. They're having a conversation, so that one hand working together, so that one hand knows what the other hand is doing. Mostly I'm using this part of the hand. It's the strongest part of your hand, so that you can really get some traction on it. The cone and the dome. And you keep doing that until the clay is in the centre of the wheel. Sorry about the clicking, but the wheel head's a bit, the back is a tiny bit loose. How do I know it's in the centre? In order to put my finger there and keep it perfectly still, it's not bumping my finger away. So there we are, we have the curve. And we're doing this at high speed. The highest speed possible. I'm not going as fast as I usually like to, because this wheel's a bit noisy. However, here we go. So using these joins as a guideline, I'm coming in from the side. My thumb is going to find the centre. Using my right hand, I forgot which was my left and my right for a while. I'm going to find the centre, I'm going to push down. Push down slowly and firmly, really getting, noticing the speed of the wheel. If the wheel's going faster, your hands need to move faster. If it's nice and slow, you can take your time. So we call this kind of half speed, school zone speed. Again, using the join of the tray as a guideline, anchor the thumb, and we're going to pull out the base of this cylinder. Steady pull, just in a straight line. You'll notice my hand's not doing this, it's just pulling out straight. I use very wet hands so that your hands don't stick to the clay. And there I have, I've opened up the form. At the minute, although it's relatively level, I'm going to compress the back. While I can get into that, I'm going to compress the base of the pot. Compress, compress. Gives a nice strong pot. Nice strong base to your pot. Also stops any, if you're experiencing S-cracks in your kiln, it stops those S-cracks. Compress, compress, compress. Just going backwards and forwards with your thumb until that's a nice level surface. And also if this becomes a mug, it's a very hygienic surface. We're still working at that nice steady speed. Nice and slow. We're in the school zone. Left hand in the centre, right hand works on the outside, and both hands are always going to be working together. So left hand in, squeeze the clay together, and you pull in this clay very gently, a little bit at a time, up to your nose. And again, taking it, particularly for beginner potters, taking it nice and steady. You have a tendency to rush when the wheel seems to be going around so fast, but clearly it's just nice and zen, nice and steady. And again, squeeze, 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 squeeze. Squeezing the clay between the two fingers, pulling it up towards your nose, and then steadying the top, just by squeezing and pushing that down. Our cylinder is gluing with the magic of the wheel. Push in at the base. I want the weight of the clay from bottom to come up to the top. Trying to keep a nice steady rhythm going. No jerky movements, nice and steady. Don't lose your nerve as you get to the top, and don't forget to breathe. All the pieces of clay I'll be using over the next wee while are just, they're way down, they're just about a pound of clay. It's a bit like 101 things you can do with a pound of clay. Now obviously it's the production potters out there. We know you can throw faster. You know, as you're starting out, enjoy the process. It's a bit of a clumpy one. I think I've got a nail that I didn't have before. Using a rib, which is another tool that I take to the wheel. Pushing the clay against the rib. Good idea if you can actually see that, right? Pushing the clay against the rib to get rid of some of the throwing lines. I like to leave some in to make a very basic cylinder. A cylinder can be turned into numerous things, from domestic wear vessels, simple, very simple mugs. What we'll do with this, we'll turn it into a mug, and I'll show you. Usually I think about changing it to mug a bit earlier on, but we can certainly show you with this cylinder. But you can do mugs, jugs, sculptural forms, pencil pots, paintbrush pots, my favourite. But let's do a real basic form. This time, by squeezing very slightly in, I can create a belly, a collar. By pushing out, I can create a bit of a belly. We'll make a funky little first mug with that cylinder. I keep going back to wet my hands. I'm actually quite, the throwers that throw very dry, I'll throw with sponges. Both are fine. I'm actually usually quite a wet thrower. Not enough playing in the wintertime with the child, I think. A very interesting shape for a mug, isn't it? Mugs are fun because you can practice all your forms. I try and put my tools down in the same place each time, because I used to spend a lot of time searching for them, and I drop them into the water. Again, using the rib. And I always undercut. I like to take, particularly mugs, I like to take them off the wheel with very little finishing. Being trained as a production potter, every extra handling time cost more. Made the mug a bit more expensive. So to keep the cost down on an item, we were trying to keep the lower priced items as handle-free as possible. So ideally, there was no finishing apart from attaching a handle to it. So there you go. And the last few throws to address the form, just to check your form. A good mug is about good design. But everybody has their own personal preferences. Some people like the tall, skinny ones. Other people like to hold on to something that looks like a beautiful hot chocolate cup. And I think actually I'll leave it at that. Usually I'll do something a bit funky with it, but we'll do that later. So there you go, a cylinder turned into a basic mug form. Remember I said that I always keep my tools in the right place? Oh, there's his handful. You're probably aware that this isn't a professional studio. In fact, you don't have a professional presenter either. but we're doing the best we can, and very grateful to have Sherry on the other end of the camera here, so that we can put something out to the lovely community of Vernon. Keep the wire nice and taut, place it next to a clean wheel head. You don't want to be dragging slurry under the pot. Pull it through steadily, and then with nice dry hands, I just keep a towel on my lap, with nice dry hands lift it and place it on a board that's covered in newsprint. There we have it. And as that dries, all it requires really is a handle. Pop a handle on tomorrow. So that's a basic form from a cylinder. The other form we're going to talk about during this series is a bowl. Again, slap that clip.
No shit.
No shit. I hated that bit.